were in the front line with the hardship protest. I know that you were at the NLC headquarters in Abuja for the 2-day protest, which was, reduced to 1 day. People have criticized that. Also like your thoughts on that. It's not just Nigerians that have criticized the NLC, saying that they are unserious. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu also threw a jab. He was trending over the weekend when he said that, the NLC calling for a four industrial action protest was unacceptable because he was just, 9 months into office. I'd like your thoughts on that.
Well, first is to recognize that the NLC has been weakened substantially by his own making, to the point that they reached a point that we say in the Nigerian parlance of see finish. They don't respect them anymore. I told the leadership this, that they have to kind of revive that. People must trust the NSC for them to. Before we went to the streets, people were even saying in front of us, say, very soon you take this into Aso Rock and we won't see you again. And that's what happened. So, and I think that is why Tinubu was confident enough to be throwing jabs at them and saying, we are not the only voice of the people. It's just ridiculing them, because over time also the NLC has done a great damage to his image and credibility as a labor union that fights for the interests of workers. And that was a surprise to us that we planned 2 days of protest, and we were not even contacted when they decided to call it off. And that was disappointing, because I was a little bit hesitant to participate because of this whole reputational issue. But I met the president, we released the pictures, and he agreed and told me that nothing will stop this protest. But you see, it is just so sad that also civil society on its own has to wait for labor to be able to enter the streets. I think that's what we have to resolve, not to always also opportunistically be waiting for labor. Because the government understands that labor will call off the strike. They understand that they had already had the TUC pull out, and it was left with NLC. And then the minister came and said, this is contempt of court. Until Femi Falana said, no, this is not contempt. Anybody can protest against hardship. And if people are facing hardship, workers are on the first line of fire when it comes to hardship. Considering that you are paying them slave wages, they're getting what they call minimum wage, not living wage. Whereas the politicians are getting maximum wage. An average senator is paid 15 million naira a month. An average Nigerian worker is paid 30,000 naira a month. So these are slave wages. But, that was how we saw it on that day, and it was just so disappointing. But the lesson to learn from this is that civil society on its own must develop the capacity and grow the balls to go out on their own to confront hardship, because it's not only labor leaders that are meant to confront hardship. During our days when we were students, we lead first, and the labor provides the enabling environment for a total paralysis of the system. The students are there, but if you look at Nigerian students today, they are probably the first to even say that they are not interested in strikes. They go to Aso Rock and come in and out of Aso Rock as if they are members of the Presidential Advisory Group inside Aso Rock. So you need a broad-based coalition involving labor that will take this problem head-on, not only labor. As far as labor is concerned, I'm sorry to say this is the best you can get from them for now.
Yeah, but what do you say to NLC's position that they had to call off the strike because of the threats that they got directly from government? Maybe you didn't receive such, but then...
Oh, I received. I was told, because the day before the protest, yes, I was in court, at the Federal High Court, to attend to my own legal issues, and I have plenty of those. And then the DSS were there, and they told my lawyer, who was with me, that they have instructions to get me disabled or arrested before the labor, because they had seen me with the labor leaders in a picture that I posted on Twitter, on social media as well. So we knew there were threats. They were calling me and asking me not to come out, that I might get injured, they're going to infiltrate. They didn't hide it. But since when did labor unions or movement become afraid of government? That's what I don't understand. Yeah, that's their job. Their job is to resist the threat. So if you go ahead and harm any labor leader in this country, then you paralyze the country until you find the people responsible. I can understand what Joe Ajero went through
Joe Ajero
in Imo. You understand?
Yes.
But the truth is that even in Imo, it is their over-reliance on the government that caused it. According to what I learned, the DSS guaranteed his safety, police guaranteed his safety, and then they pulled out and allowed thugs to do what they did to him. I think the labor itself should create a security unit, the labor movement, of workers. When you have the mass behind you, it's always difficult. If I'm a labor leader and I'm going to Imo State and I know there will be threats, there will be over 2,000 people waiting for me in front of the airport. So if you touch me, you have just burnt down the state. I'm sorry, I'm not saying they should burn down this. I'm saying these are the implications. Let them know the implications of doing something untoward. I mean, a labor leader in Nigeria is not just an ordinary person. During our time, when we were student union, I was president of University of Lagos Student Union. I wasn't even NANS president. You can't touch me. You can ask all the police commissioners in Lagos State. I mean, I was attacked several times, but the students will always be there to resist such attacks and make sure that you are protected because you are leading them and they trust you. So I think there's also some kind of trust issue. There's over-reliance on the security architecture of the state by labor. And it's not only labor leaders. If you go to campuses across Nigeria today, even NANS officials have DSS details. I went to the University of Ibadan. At the gate, they stopped people who wanted to come and listen to me to speak. And that's who they said they have a resident DSS officer at the University of Ibadan. You cannot do that in my days at the University of Lagos. You can't have a resident DSS. You can't even have a DSS person identify publicly. They might be undercover, but you can't identify publicly in our time that you are DSS. I mean, it's not possible. But they have so degraded all this movement. And the movements also contributed to the degradation of themselves through greed and, you know, all this unholy collaboration with actors, state actors in the country.
You mentioned NANS. I mean,
NANS of blessed memory.
NANS of today, you know.
NANS of today.
The news is that, you know, government even sponsors those who become,
look,
you know,
you cannot. NANS of today is an affiliate of the federal government. NANS leaders of today also travel on presidential jets. They don't even hide it, take pictures and put it on Facebook. Part of the biggest problem this country has faced over time is that those who are supposed to lead this country through liberation are aspiring to become like the oppressors themselves. So the moment you start to envy a government convoy, as a NANS leader, you also want to have a convoy. You want to have a vanity plate that says NANS 001. When we had it in our time, it wasn't registered. We just go and put in OSU 001. But it was to antagonize the state. In our time, if the federal government have an official event at the University of Lagos, if they sing the national anthem of their own, we have our own national anthem. Nigeria will hail it. We'll sing it. As soon as they finish their own, we start our own. It's to antagonize the state as it was. But these days, they have all become part and parcel of the oppressive system because I think they envy the oppressors more than they value their liberation.
But I wanted to go back on the NLC protest because you made mention of the fact that this is all we have. This is all we can get from the NLC. Yes. And I'd like your advice now that, you know, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has said that they are not the voice of Nigeria. People are not taking them seriously. He even said that they should go and contest for the 2027 election if they want to be part of the electoral process. What should the NLC do now at this point?
So let me respond to Bola Tinubu, President. What he was saying is ballooning. Reason being that when they wanted to come to power, did they wait 2015? They started plotting since, in fact, they practically hijacked Occupy Nigeria in 2012. That was where they started their political movement, the APC, from. And when did Jonathan come to power? I think 2011? Yes. So Jonathan had not enjoyed up to 9 months in power when Occupied Nigeria happened. So what is he complaining about? And where in the world did he read, you know, they don't study, that democracy requires that you go and wait for election day? Opposition starts from day one. whatever they are opposed to, they start opposing it, with ideas, physically, they engage in protest. France had over 6 months of protests, I think, in 2022. I think they are still protesting now.
France is the home of protest.
Exactly. So the US, you go to the US, people are protesting every day. There are people on the streets of US who are protesting against government. Some people go and protest against God. It's their fundamental right. Why would you now say that, the NLC should go and wait for 2027? The NLC already told you that they have hardship issues. Can that wait? You are paying, the only thing that's static since you came to power is the minimum wage. Every other thing, you met dollar at 700 naira, is now 1,600 yesterday. Before, in February, it got to 2,000 for 1 hour. Are you getting my point? You met fuel at how much? Is now at 650 or even more. There are places that are selling for up to 1,000. They met diesel at 950. Diesel is almost 1,500 across the country. So what are we talking about? So you want everybody to wait and die until 2027. But most importantly, it's also saying something that I think is important for everybody. Develop new voices. Because he no longer respects even the NLC. That's what he's telling you. And that's what I said when we started this conversation. The civil society movement in the country should also stop waiting opportunistically for a labor strike before we can strike on our own. We should be able to strike independently of labor. Let's flood the street tomorrow. He will know that there are real voices. Even this last labor thing, by the way, in Lagos was a joke. Police was distributing biscuits and water.
Wasn't that a good thing?
They were celebrated.
Wasn't that a good thing?
Because it was a joke now. It was because it was a joke. How can police that cannot afford fuel, they are buying biscuits for protesters?
But let me squeeze